Hey guys, and welcome to the second episode of Surrender to the Suck. And today we're going to be talking about why being a young mom sucks. So, for reference, which I mentioned in the intro episode, I had my first when I had pretty much just turned 21, and my second when I was 26. So now I still kind of consider myself a young mom. But at the time when I had my first, I honestly didn't think I was a young mom at all. I thought I was so grown, but I honestly knew nothing. So I really wanted to be a young mom my entire life because my parents are older. My mom was 40 when she had me, and my dad was 51. And I saw the negative sides of being an older parent, and the negatives kind of outweighed the positives for me, which that I knew at the time. And I always wanted to have kids younger because I wanted to make sure I had tons of energy for them. Always wanted to have kids young. And then when it was just about time for me to get out of the military, it was kind of like, okay, this is the perfect time to get pregnant. So got pregnant and had her 3 months before I left the Navy. So the timeline worked out absolutely perfect on that. And then boom, was a young mom. But I honestly really didn't feel like a young mom because when we think about young moms, we think about people who were in a situation that I was not in. We think about people who, one, are not preparing to have a child. And we think about people who, they don't have things like health insurance, they don't have a job, they don't have a spouse. It's very, very stereotypical what we think of young moms. We think they are kind of just idiots who got pregnant without thinking about it. I mean, if you got pregnant by accident, you're not an idiot, but this is kind of the stereotype about young moms. I did not at all feel like I was like that because both me and my husband, we had been married for 2 years at that point, maybe three, and we had gotten married young. We got married when I was 18 and he was 20. Yeah, so that's 3 years because I was 21. So we were married for 3 years at that point, and we were in the military. So we had steady jobs, we had health insurance, we had a house, we had a dog. Like, by all intents and purposes, we were not young-ish parents, but definitely the emotional level and being prepared emotionally for a kid, which I'm understanding of now, we were definitely very young parents. So society just views young moms again like these idiots who are totally incapable of taking care of their kids. They view you automatically like you're really irresponsible and immature just because you have a kid young. And I think this can kind of date back to how we learn about sex education in schools. And there's that huge abstinence push of, oh, the only way you're going to prevent this, okay, nope, just don't have sex. And it's just ends up being demonized. So when we see someone who's a little bit younger having a kid, I think our brains just automatically go, oh, you're not supposed to do that. Nope. Like, you did a bad thing. For a very long time, we feel like people should not be getting pregnant. And as I've gotten older, I can understand the perspective of why people wait because financially, you're probably going to be better off if you are waiting to have kids because your career is going to be more established. You're going to have a career that you like. You're not going to be swapping out. Maybe you went to school or you had a business that you figure out, and it's just much easier to do these things without kids. And you're already established and you don't have that financial struggle. But that doesn't mean automatically that because someone is a young mom, that they're struggling to the point where they need your pity, because that's kind of how everybody views you when you're a young mom. And I was pretty much the first one of my friends to have kids, and I noticed this just automatic huge divide as soon as I had my daughter. And I ended up getting really, really lonely at first because I literally went from traveling worldwide, living in Japan, and then 4 months later, a stay at home mom with an infant that would scream anytime I went in the car with her. And I was pretty much trapped at home for a really, really long time. And without realizing it, struggling horribly with postpartum anxiety and depression. So it was a really, really difficult transition for me. And what made it even worse was how lonely I was because no one was understanding what I went through. I had no friends with kids. I had no one who really understood how to reach out to someone who just had a baby and to check on them, not ask, how's the baby doing? And that's all someone asks about, which, by the way, if you know someone who just had a kid, make sure you are asking them how they are feeling. And if they start to blab on about their kids, bring them back, let them talk, but bring them back and make sure that you are asking them specifically how they're feeling. And so it was really lonely because there was really no one who was understanding what I was talking about. The friends that I did have when I would visit them or when they would visit me, because we were living in different states at this point, they just kind of expected me to just bring my daughter along with me and do the same things they were doing, like sitting at a coffee shop or, oh, we're going to go do this. When you're bringing a young kid anywhere, first of all, it's just not. A lot of the times it's not enjoyable unless it's an activity specifically for kids, because you have to bring so much shit with you. And then you're basically just waiting for them to have a meltdown. And all of your attention is on them and what they're doing and making sure that their needs are met. So you're not really able to direct your attention to the conversation that's going on with whoever you're talking to, because your attention is in two different places. So it's really difficult. And there is just a huge disconnect in that. And it wasn't that anybody was mean or being rude, but they just weren't understanding. And when people are just consistently not understanding you, it just does get kind of lonely sometimes. I even one time had a friend who wanted me to go overnight with her somewhere when my daughter was pretty young, and I was like, no, I can't do that. I can't just leave. Like, she's not sleeping through the night. I don't feel comfortable with that. And she's like, oh, just leave her with your mom. And it's like, yeah, if you don't have kids, that seems like a great option. But if you have kids, then you understand how, one, you probably don't feel comfortable yet, but it honestly might not even be an option, because babies are a whole lot of work, and a lot of the times you can't just leave them with someone for that extended period of time, because so much of the time they just want you. And because I didn't have anyone who I was currently friends with who I felt like really understood what I was going through, I tried to make other mom friends. And this is where, being a young mom, I kind of got the double-edged sword here, because my current friends didn't understand what I was going through. And the new mom friends that I tried to make, I was in an area where the moms that I was trying to connect with were in their 30s, early 30s, late 30s, and early 40s. So it's me, who's just turned 21, trying to connect with moms who are much older, even though we both have brand new babies and are in kind of a similar stage of our life. I got judged so much. And a lot of the times when I would walk into the room for like a story time at the library or taking her literally anywhere, I would get such glares and weird faces of like, what are you doing here? You're an infant with an infant, and just such judgmental looks. And it was really hard to make mom friends when you're automatically being judged right away of just the fact that you're existing as a young mom because you decided to have kids or could have kids younger than someone else. Because I think, at least for myself, and I've talked to a lot of other moms who have felt the same way, that when you're a new mom, you really do just kind of want to feel like you connect, like you belong somewhere, because it's a huge change in your life. It's probably the biggest change ever in your entire life. Going through pregnancy and giving birth, it literally changes your brain chemistry. It literally changes everything about you. And then all of a sudden, you're this whole new person. And the people that were your friends and that you connected with, oh, maybe you don't connect with them anymore. So where's your social circle? And then, oh, maybe you try to make new mom friends. But here's the thing about mom friends. Just because they're a mom does not automatically make them someone that you're going to be friends with, because you are still your own person. And you still have your own likes and dislikes and morals and all of that. So it's really hard to find new people who are going to be a friend to you, but also have that understanding of being a mom. And that's why all the time you see moms trying to connect with other moms. That's why mom Facebook groups have popped up, and why that's the butt of a lot of jokes. That's why these are there, because we are desperate just search for a village, for people who are going to understand. Because not only is it this huge change in your life, sometimes it's the most frustrating thing you have ever had to deal with before. So you have a huge change, all of a sudden you're really frustrated, and then you feel isolated because all of a sudden, if you're a stay-at-home mom or you're a working mom, you're at home with the baby, you can't go anywhere, or you're working mom, everything has to do with you getting home to the infant and taking care of them a lot of the time. Wow, what happened to your life? And then you feel like your life is gone from you. And no matter which end of the spectrum you are on, where you spend your days, it is a very, very difficult transition. And that transition can be so much harder when you are a young mom, when you are the first one of your friends to go through this, because everyone lies about motherhood and does not give you the full picture, so you probably have no fucking clue what you're getting yourself into and how difficult it's going to be for the reasons why it's going to be difficult. And then you're just like, whoa, what the fuck? Why did no one tell me any of this? And it just ends up making you feel more isolated. So now that I'm almost 5 years into parenting, where have I ended up? I have ended up in a much calmer place now where I'm not desperate to make mom friends. I am content and happy in the place that I am as a mom and being a stay-at-home mom now. So where have I ended up now? I am in a place now where I honestly really don't feel lonely. I don't feel desperate to make mom friends like I used to. I have my friends, I have my village. A lot of that is my online village that I have found, and I'm in a really content place in where I am, which is just a huge contrast from what it used to be. And I noticed a lot of this difference when I had my second from when I had my first, and how much more confident I am as a mom now, and how much more confident I am in the fact that I don't necessarily need a huge group of friends around me, a whole bunch of mom friends, and just that desperation of trying to find people who are going through the same thing just really isn't there. And it just feels content. Like it's a very relaxed feeling. I've kind of surrendered to the suck about it, Like, yes, I know this part of infanthood just really sucks, but you know what? I'm going to get through it. It's going to be okay. I'm going to do what I did before, and we're going to be all right. And I've learned a little bit more, and I know this works and this doesn't work, and we're going to be okay. I've ended up exactly full circle, actually, because I had worked for a little while, gone back to school, and now I'm staying at home again with our second. So I am completely full circle, but much calmer this time. And it also really helps this time that I do not have postpartum anxiety or depression. So I think that's also a large difference in it, which is another curious thing that I've noticed. And I don't have any data to back this up, but it would be interesting if any of you guys had this. I've noticed in pretty much every mom that I've talked to that has more than one kid, everybody says that they had postpartum depression and anxiety for their first kid, but their subsequent kids, they didn't have anything. And I think it's just a really interesting point, and how difficult a transition into motherhood it can be at any age, any stay-at-home mom, working mom, work from home mom, whatever it is. That just attests just how difficult and how big of a change it really is. First, a huge percentage of people are suffering from postpartum depression and anxiety from that huge shock. And then as they get used to it, the next kid, they feel much more content with it and they feel much more relaxed. And now at 26, I view young moms a lot differently than I used to. There's a lot of young moms that I think are really insecure just because the world is telling them that they're not a good mother, and you haven't really experienced enough yet to be confident in your own ability. Like your early 20s, you're not really confident in anything most of the time. It's something that you gain as you get older. And I'm sure in my 30s and 40s, this is going to be tenfold what it is now for me. But even still, after turning 25, I noticed a turning point in myself. So you have a lot of insecurities in your early 20s, and then it's just exemplified by being a young mom and having this huge responsibility of having a child, but then being told and being looked at by everybody like you're an immature idiot who's unable to take care of your kid. So now if I see a young mom, I am looking at her with extremely kind eyes, because it is really, really hard. But I'm also viewing her not kind eyes with pity, but kind eyes as in, I know you're capable of this. I know you can do this. So if you are a young mom who's listening to this, you're doing a fantastic job. You just don't feel like you're doing it yet. You just haven't realized yet that you're doing a good job. But trust me, a couple years down the line, you're going to realize that you're doing an amazing job. It just takes a while to get that confidence up to where your ability as a parent already is. You are doing the best you can as a parent. Every situation, parenthood, motherhood, it's just every situation, you are just taking it as it comes and you deal with it with the information that you have at the time that you have it. And then you do better as you go along, as you get more information, as you feel more confident. So you're already doing a fantastic job. Your confidence just isn't there yet. So don't worry, the confidence really is going to get there. I really hope this is reaching someone who needs to hear this because trust me, you're doing an amazing job. So yeah, if you see a young mom, don't look at her like she's an immature 12-year-old that just got knocked up because they weren't being careful. Young moms go through a whole lot, and we can really learn a lot from their perseverance. So thank you guys for listening to the second episode of Surrender to the Suck. You can find me over on Instagram at Surrender to the Suck podcast. And if you yourself are a young mom and you want to chat about your experiences, or you were a young mom and now you're not, and you want to reach out to me, please go ahead. I'd love to share some young mom stories on a later podcast on how being a young mom affected your parenting and how you've seen it change as you age. And if you jive with this content, go ahead and subscribe on whatever platform you are listening to it on, or if you are viewing this on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button there, and I will see you guys next week.